What's poppin', ghouls and goblins? It's BabyGhoul back at you again with another BabyGhoul Breakdown. We're talking about the We Were Always Compared episode from the Opposite Twins. Just gonna start this with saying, how are you gonna fuss about always being compared, but make your entire branding comparing yourselves to one another? But let's go ahead and get into this. If you like these and you want to see more of these, feel free to comment down below, give this video a cute little like, and subscribe if you want to stick around. Alright, let's go.
People called us dumb, the dumb twins. And then when we transferred schools after being bullied, I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself. I am no longer claiming the dumb twin name. Like, we're not dumb. And I kind of wanted you to do this with me, but I feel like you didn't have that same, I'm starting over and I'm going to throw myself into my work. No one at this new school knew that we had a dumb past. So I took it on myself to be like, I'm not going to be dumb anymore.
Didn't I get an airhead reputation at this school?
Yes. And but you weren't called dumb at this school. You were called a blonde airhead. Now you're blonde.
I'm blonde.
She wasn't blonde at the time.
Anyone from St. James,
They were like, Gabby needs to be blonde. That's what everybody.
It didn't hurt my feelings at this school because people were genuinely accepting of like my ditzy moments. Like when I thought airplanes drove on the highway, or when I thought intangible was a synonym for shackles. During like, what was it, like vocabulary sparkle or whatever.
We got to get into those story times.
When I was like so invested in the popular guy in school who gave me some breadcrumbs that had me hanging on for 2 years.
I reinvented myself and I actually did it. I think that's when I realized manifesting, I think at a young age. I was like, I'm not dumb anymore. I'm smart. And I did it. I like curved. In 7th grade, I curved my life. But this is the thing with ADHD. I didn't know this is what I was doing. I wasn't retaining information in class. I would go home and I would read a chapter from start to finish, the chapter that we had a test on. And I would read that chapter twice, once in my head and one out loud. And then I would take notes the second time I went over it. And
God, like
I would get like an A-.
That's reminding me of, even though I wasn't applied in school, in elementary and middle school, that's how I would do good in high school. I remember I actually, like, when push came to shove, I had to try in high school because I wanted to get into a good college. I wanted to get into college. I tried. That's how I pulled some B's and C's in high school.
It's truly unfortunate to get bullied, especially at such a young age. But to be, like, in a weird way, mad with your sister for not wanting to reinvent herself, even though you want to, like, I get that you're compared to one another, but you're your own person. You wanted to reinvent yourself, you can do that. Maybe it's just me, but y'all really should have taken the time to be like, not all blondes are stupid, or that's just a stereotype, because you laughing about it and perpetuating it's just perpetuating that stereotype. And then when it comes to the note-taking thing, like, I don't really got shit to say on that. It's how you learn. Everyone learns in different ways. Some people learn by seeing, some people learn by doing, some people learn by reading. If you find a way that works for you, that's great.
And got my GPA to a point where I could apply to college.
Because we didn't retain anything in the classroom.
Mm-mm.
But I made that transition in how people were seeing me, and I made sure no one was going to think I was dumb anymore. Even if I still thought I was dumb. I thought it was like my secret I was hiding. But I was getting good grades. And whenever the teachers would like randomly call on you.
No. Oh.
That is social anxiety.
No.
Like,
especially when like you have ADHD and you're not a good like classroom
not able to focus.
Not able to focus, yeah.
I was smart when I'd go home and read by myself, but when I was in a classroom, I was dumb. And
even if you knew the answer, you like just freeze and not even know.
You know what I would do? You know what my little trick was to not look dumb? I would really like pay attention, and whenever the teacher would ask a question that I knew the answer to, I would raise my hand right away so she'd call on me and I knew the answer out loud.
I did the same trick so that when she called it a question
that you didn't know, she wouldn't call on you
because you just
participated.
I did the same thing. Or when you're reading, when you have to like go sentence by sentence in your desks reading out loud in a textbook, I would count how many people I'd count how many people, and then I'd count the sentences, and I'd be like, okay, this is mine. Let me practice this before I read out loud. So I wasn't even listening to what people were reading out loud because I was too busy focusing on, let me reread the sentence I'm going to be saying so I make sure I don't like stumble or stutter in front of the class.
Them talking in sync is so not natural. I died, hence the image we're seeing right now. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's kind of really fucking ridiculous to be like, it was a hack that I listened, and when the teacher asked a question I knew the answer to, I would raise my hand so I would respond. Like, that's what you were supposed to do. That was the point. Okay?
So I feel like, but for some reason, I feel like, I don't know what happened though, but for some reason, we went from being blended together at our old school, both of us being dumb, to then all of a sudden people like saying that about you, but not saying that about me. And then it started happening in our household. This sounds so toxic. It probably was, but I think our parents tried motivating Gabby. This was so horrible, but they started hanging up my report card on the fridge and being like, we can hang up yours too, but you have to try.
You know what? Can I tell you something? That did piss me off. It worked, but it didn't make me want to like go ham on the textbook.
It gave her more I want to give up vibes.
It made me like, fuck you. I was like, I'm gonna go draw now.
Am I the only one that thinks it's kind of weird how in this podcast Nikki keeps trying to egg on a negative response from Gabby? Like, you'll see it. She keeps asking her these like questions, like she's trying to get her to get emotional, and Gabby's just not trying to. And I understand why. Every time she says anything, Nikki just goes, I, me. So it's like, what would be the fucking point?
You would just draw eyeballs in class.
I would draw eyeballs. I'd draw cubes. I'd make a list of plastic surgeries I'm going to get when I'm a millionaire.
You would write notes to friends in class.
I would pass notes, and then the teacher would pick them up and read it in front of the class. I would sell study guides.
Teachers would say, Gabby likes to gab.
I was so bad. I was always in the principal's office. I was always acting up. This is staple, like ADHD, undiagnosed little girl. Most of the time, you know, at least in our year, the little girls always were very well behaved, and it was like, you know, the occasional like bad little boy in the class that would get in trouble all the time and like go down to.
You were the only
office.
girl that was getting in trouble as much as the boys.
I think it's incredibly sad to be a child and making a list of plastic surgeries that you want. Like, I'm so for getting whatever you want done that makes you feel good, you know? It's your body. You need to do what makes you feel best in it. But to be a child and not being told that, hey, you're enough the way you are, to the point that you're making a list of surgeries you would get to alter yourself when you're not even who you are yet, just holy fuck, man. Also, let's not blame ADHD for you being an asshole in class, okay? Like, laughing about making it hard for others to learn just isn't cute, Gabby. For fuck's sake. When you're disrupting a class, all you're doing is taking away from everyone else's learning. Like, how selfish is that? If you don't want to be there, just don't show up.
So even though like we're joking about that time period right now, I remember clear as day it wasn't a joke to you at the time. So I want you to kind of like explain to everybody like how that felt when all of a sudden you were labeled the dumb twin.
Nikki does this a couple times in the podcast, and it's just like, why would she answer that? Anything that she's gonna say, you're just gonna make about yourself, so. But, holy fuck, Nikki really wants to pretend to be woke, and she's just so fucking full of herself. She doesn't see it, and it just blows my mind. How someone can pretend to give so much of a fuck while only giving a singular fuck and it's about themselves. Like, wow. Congrats. You're an asshole. Do you want a fucking star?
What was your first memory of being the dumb twin? And
my first memory was when we were at our original Catholic school from kindergarten to second grade. I always had trouble like participating and getting called on, but I was like pulling in good grades and I was trying and I knew what I was doing. Then mom and dad transferred us to this prep school, private school that was 3 years ahead of the curriculum. And
That's where it got fucked up.
I remember the exact moment where I said to myself, oh my God, I'm dumb. And it was when we got back from recess, the second day of school. The first day of school wasn't really like curriculum stuff. It was just like icebreakers and like making friends. And then the second day of school at this new school, the prep school, it was time to get the books cracking and open them. I remember we got back from recess. The line walked into the classroom. We all sat in our seats, and I looked at the chalkboard and I see 2 times 2 equals. I see like 3 times 5 equals, 4 times 7 equals. And I'm like,
We just learned how to add and subtract.
we just learned complex addition, which was multiple number addition problems. I had no idea even how to like subtract like big numbers. So that's my exact memory of when I started thinking to myself, oh my gosh, am I dumb?
I truly feel like this is one of the faults of the United States education system, because how is it you can go to one school and be on one learning path and go to a completely different school, be in the same age bracket you're supposed to be, and be in a completely different learning bracket? Why isn't the shit universal across the board? Shit like this happens all the time, and it's really sad. No child should be put in a situation in which they feel stupid. That's fucked.
Then the label got put on when I actually really couldn't keep up with the new curriculum.
That's when I started feeling dumb as well. But I did have a change in the trajectory of how I started to see myself once I did start getting good grades. When I did start getting good grades was 7th grade. But that's also the same time you got that label thrown on you. And I remember seeing you at home upset about it. And I'm now, as an adult, I'm asking you, what did that feel like? Because I think, to be honest, I did have the upper hand and I felt bad about it. I felt like I knew I wasn't naturally smart and I knew I had to try to get good grades, but I learned how my brain worked and I knew how to get good grades, and I just stayed in a rhythm, and that's how I got my grades up. But I saw that you didn't figure that out yet.
Was
And
this before we switched schools?
this was 7th grade, after we switched schools. And I just remember, like, I was always rooting for you. I was like, we deserved better. We gave up at our old school. And I saw it as a time for us to start over with our grades and our reputation. And I was like, we got this, you got this. And I felt like you were so freaking defeated. I remember my first test that I got back in like science, my first test after we transferred schools, got an A. And this is so weird. I remember I used like a blue pen on the test. Like, I remember weird details, like blue ink. But I remember you got a bad grade, and Mom and Dad were like, come on. Like, that's what.
Oh my God, I remember this.
And they're like, we thought this was going to be easier going to like from this private school to this Catholic school. Like, what's going on? And then I just remember being like, I felt terrible that I was getting good grades because I wanted us both to win.
Okay, I feel like this is a failure on your parents' part, because if they recognized the school wasn't the issue, they should have got her a tutor or something. Like, I get you being frustrated and her falling behind, but everyone getting frustrated in someone who's just trying to keep up does not help at all. Fun fucking fact of the day, if you didn't know. If someone's struggling to keep up and you're an asshole to them, it's not gonna help. Like, what did y'all think you were gonna accomplish by bullying that little girl? Can we be fucking for real right now?
I've never asked you, what did that feel like? Do you even remember?
I'll tell you this. It was just too much all at once in grade school. High school it got easier because on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, you have certain classes. On Monday, Thursday, you have classes, whatever. In elementary school, you have from 8 a.m. or in middle school, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. You have hours and hours and hours of classes. It was just too much in my brain at once. Like,
Yeah.
if I had maybe 2 classes or 3 classes, I would have applied myself really hard in those. But it was just too much information being thrown at me. Like, by the end of the day, I couldn't remember what I was learning at 8 a.m. And then you're expected to go home and then do homework on what you learned at 8 a.m.
But I'm asking you how you felt. Like, get all of us in where your headspace was.
Honestly, I feel like I blocked it out.
I can tell. I can tell you fucking did, because I keep asking the same question and you keep changing the topic.
Nikki, when you asked the first time, you then asked a separate question. She then answered that question. You asked again. She went to answer. You responded again. Like, how are you gonna get mad she's not answering, but then you also talk over her constantly and just want to make it about yourself? How are you gonna sit there and go, tell us in your deepest, darkest memories of a child how much it hurt to be called dumb so I can make this about myself? Like, sit the fuck down, dude. Believe it or not, trauma does not equal content. If someone does not want to talk about something, they don't have to. And if she keeps being like, nah, I blocked it out, thank you, that doesn't mean you have to sit there and then go, I can tell. Like, move the fuck on. Why don't you talk about you? Since you want to talk about you so fucking much, just talk about yourself. Don't be an asshole. Allegedly, Nikki's so empathetic and such a good listener. It's like, I can see why people don't come to you when they have issues, girl.
It was so awkward, and I honestly, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Maybe give us a story about the time you really felt like you had that label and that you were giving into that label and you felt embarrassed.
Before we switched schools in 7th grade, I think it was like that time where you had to stand in front of the class and give a report on like a book or a play. And I was giving my report, and the girls that were bullying Nikki and I at the time were all sitting next to each other because you could pick where you sit in that class. Like, but they stay your permanent seats. You just get to pick where you sit. And the 4 of them were all sitting there whispering and laughing while I was trying to like give a report. And I literally gave up in the middle of my report, and I said, this just isn't fair. And I ran out of the classroom crying.
I really hate that I'm sticking up for Gabby a lot in this episode, but like, the teacher should have done something. A teacher should not sit there and let 4 students continue to interrupt someone's presentation to the point of the person getting so frustrated they leave. That teacher's just an asshole.
Oh my God, I'm like gonna cry thinking about it.
Did anyone, like, what happened? Did you get in trouble for that?
At first I did. He went outside, and he was about to yell, but then he realized what was happening, so he asked the girls to go outside, and they made me feel stupid. They were like, we weren't talking about her.
Gaslighting you.
Oh my God, we were not. Does she really think she's that important? And then because I made that whole scene, they escalated it to the other popular girls at lunch, and then that was like the loneliest lunch ever. Everyone was making fun of me.
I remember when we did transfer schools, I feel like I took on this mother role with Gabby. I don't know how old I was when I did, but I felt like I not only had to look out for myself, but I had to look out for Gabby. Not that you weren't as strong as me, because you were strong in a different way. There were times where I felt very out of control, where we'd be in like a group setting in a classroom, and the teacher would randomly call on you. All the guys would start laughing at you, and even though that wasn't happening to me, oh my God, I was so angry, but I also felt like at the time I was immature and young, and I felt mad at you because I'm like, great, now everybody's gonna think I'm stupid.
As someone who came from a household where their parents were very much like, you are a reflection of us, you have to do good, otherwise it makes us look bad, I get where she is coming from, but to also be like, I have to protect and keep her safe. And then I would be mad at her, and I'd be like, great, now they're going to think we're both stupid. Like, could you just, I don't know, maybe protect someone without being an asshole to them? Because you can love someone and uplift them and encourage them instead of belittling them and making them feel stupid.
Which, that's not fair. Mm-hmm. That's not fair. Like, the whole thing kind of sucked, because it was like, you weren't ever stupid, but kids are horrible. Kids are mean. But I also was like, you're an extension of me. And I selfishly was like hoping you wouldn't fuck up publicly, because I thought that would ruin how hard I worked to make sure I didn't look stupid.
Isn't that funny how it applies to like work now as public figures? That same thought process.
Yeah, I'm always like, Gabby, don't fuck up publicly. Don't fuck up, because then I do pay for it. Like, anytime something happens like that, like things have in the past.
It's weird. As a twin, it's like of association. Like, you lose your independence. I was just talking with one of my friends about this last night. You lose a part of independence because you're automatically associated as one is the other and the other is the other. And so especially when they show different sides, especially when it comes to learning and better grades and worse grades, that really makes the comparison even stronger.
You built your career off of being twins, and now you're basing your career on being opposite twins. No fucking shit, people are gonna compare you. Y'all are comparing yourselves. And then, on top of that, of course, you selling CP would affect you and your sister's branding when a majority of your money comes from your twin channel. Or at least it used to back when you could pull views. It's not like you're out having a wild night clubbing because you'll post that, or that you have a secret new fling because you'll post them and be like, I'm keeping them private, but still post them. It was literally you committing a felony, so stop acting like it was something it wasn't.
Like, oh, you guys, Nikki, Gabby are the same, but that one does better and this one doesn't. I swear teachers thought the same thing too. Or why couldn't they just see two individuals?
I just remember from my perspective, I felt like the more you messed up in the classroom in front of everybody, the harder I had to participate and like
Oh my God,
carry
I can't
the
even
weight.
imagine that.
I just felt like, okay, I got to make sure we look better now. Why did I care so much what people thought? I mean, I guess kids do.
That's the thing. When we were younger, I didn't really care what people thought. You really cared what people thought.
I learned how to mask so hard. So hard. There was times where like I was having wild OCD. This was before I was diagnosed, where I would be having the craziest intrusive thoughts during the school day and not eating or sleeping because of these intrusive thoughts. These intrusive thoughts telling me, we could do a whole episode on this, but these intrusive thoughts were telling me to do something that I didn't want to do. And I thought that was me. And I was like, I hate myself. Like I literally was like, I hate myself. And I somehow managed to still get good grades through all that. I was just throwing myself into schoolwork and masking. So no wonder I would come home, I would just sleep. Oh my God, I was tired. I was.
Imagine your sister egging you on to bring up some traumatic shit and then going, I went through some really traumatic shit, but at least I was able to maintain good grades. While you're talking about that, which was something your sister struggled with. Like, what's the point of that, Nikki?
Wanted to be cool. We weren't cool at our old school. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be smart. I'm not naturally cool. I'm not naturally smart.
Just because you're not school subject smart doesn't mean you're not smart. No wonder Nikki doesn't like the law of attraction. She puts out a lot of negative thoughts and negative intentions.
I think in high school I started to realize when you started that like cheating on tests business.
Hey, look at me still playing Miss Wendy White for you. We're not going to talk about, but
she's
like
still.
What does being Wendy White for you mean? Because I tried to look it up. I couldn't find anything.
Do you ever feel like any past partners triggered those stereotypes we were put into?
Not in the relationships, but like after, like the aftermath, like the ex-boyfriend's trying to manipulate you back type vibe. I've had friends tell me, I think your ex thinks you're stupid, you know? But like not in the, I've never been in a relationship romantically, at least, where I felt stupid. I don't
see. That's crazy because
Nikki just really asked a question just so she could say her side of it. Like, why don't you just go, this relationship made me feel this way and this and that. Hey, Gabby, did you ever have this happen? Instead of being like, tell us about this so I can offer genuinely no input and just start talking about myself. Like, holy fuck, man.
I feel like my outlet whenever I felt stupid was always social or romantic relationships. Because I noticed I'm very smart romantically and emotionally. Like I feel like I'm intelligent with my emotions and like business and like worldly stuff. But
if you're so smart in relationships, why'd you go out of your way when you were in one to cheat on your partner, at least emotionally, with someone you'd been with before? And even had them working together on the same music video. Like, get the fuck out of here, bitch.
So weird.
no one's perfect. I'm going to have dumb moments, and you're still going to have dumb moments. But that doesn't mean we're dumb.
Or like
it doesn't
break
mean you're
things
dumb.
and drop things and be klutzy. I get it. It's like you and I were definitely raised very different, and on top of it, we're like klutzes. So.
I have a
What does she mean by we were raised differently? But also, being clumsy and being stupid are like two different things.
during hand-eye coordination shit whenever it was your time to bat, I'm like, Gabby, no. Remember I would like swing the baseball around into a circle. God, I miss St. James. Oh my God. You miss what?
I miss St. James.
I know.
That was so funny.
See, I feel like at least people thought it was funny. Like they weren't like truly making funny.
People were so nice at St. James compared to the other school we were at. Like it wasn't so serious. Everyone was just like laughing and like
You were
having
like
fun.
the entertainment. It was like Legally Blonde, like Elle Woods goes to bat.
Except I had dark
She wasn't
hair.
blonde at the time, but everybody said Gabby was
Everyone
blonde.
saw me as blonde.
Maybe this is just nitpicky of me, but can we not perpetuate the stereotype that all blondes are dumb because your hair color has literally nothing to do with how smart you are? But also, Gabby, we all know that you play dumb because if anyone knew that you knew what you were doing when it came to the CP, you probably would have actually faced repercussions. Instead, you went, oh my God, my worst fear is Ariana Grande finding out. Crying. I'm gonna go eat with Colin now, bye. Like, shut up.
So I feel like because of this, on the flip side, you were called dumb. I was labeled smart. I feel like I kind of have after effects of that as well because I feel like I now have standards that I hold myself to because of that I can never meet. And it made me a perfectionist and a control freak. And I'm never happy or satisfied with anything I do. It's never good enough.
Maybe bring that up with your therapist instead of trauma dumping on your sister.
Do you see effects of being labeled dumb back in the day?
You know, I feel like I'm different now. I feel like I use my dumb label to its advantage to make profit.
You play dumb to avoid taking accountability. You're just pathetic.
I sometimes try way too hard, and this year I literally told myself, or in 2022, let go of the handles, Nikki. Just let the fuck go. The universe will put you where you're supposed to go. And I feel like I saw that with you growing up. You just were like, well, I don't give a fuck.
The look on Gabby's face because Nikki cut her off fucking sent me.
Like, honestly, I feel as though I don't think I'm dumb. And I think I've had fun, like a really fun time as an adult proving to myself I ain't dumb. Like, I have been so good, like as an adult. I've been so smart financially and like business wise that I'm laughing at what I used to think about myself. So I think I am so appreciative to be an adult, to be inserted in the real world. And when I see school buses drive past me in the car, I get this overwhelming feeling of like chills down my spine. I see them like smacked against the window looking miserable. And I'm like, I don't miss that.
What part of you maximizing 3 credit cards for the Big Bird funeral fucking Chanel coat makes you in any way financially smart? Like, stop.
You know, self-love, self-care, and like being kind to yourself, like you start learning really, really important habits that you don't know you can do when you're younger. So like, you know, just like looking in the mirror and saying like reassuring, really, really nice facts about yourself to yourself. I feel like there's a beauty in being an adult and having a fully developed brain. We can actually say that now because we're 27. You can recognize that you are smart. There's just such thing as strength and weakness. There's strengths and weaknesses.
I think the people that
Well, I do think self-care is something that we learn over time as to what works right with our bodies. Maybe it's just me, but my parents taught me affirmations as a kid, so I don't think that's an adult exclusive thing.
made fun of you for being dumb, those people took pride in the classroom because that's probably a strength. And that is a strength to be proud of. But everyone has their different strengths. And I think
I just had to cut her off. Instead of being like, bullying is wrong, you went, yeah, that is a strength. Like, no, just because you're good at something someone else isn't as good at does not give you the right to bully them. I'm fucking sorry.
there's just so many things that, even though like we had those labels, like there were so many things I was jealous of that you had.
I've always was jealous of Nikki's hair.
Really?
But I was also really jealous of like how you could pay attention in class, or at least pretend to. And you always remembered homework and studying. And because we were twins, though, like my mom would notice, oh, Nikki's studying. Why isn't Gabby? And I used to like lie to her. I don't have a test.
You would lie to mom saying, well,
Yeah,
I don't have that test. And then she'd find out there what.
What the fuck does being a twin have to do with your parent being concerned over your study habits?
I'm glad we finally got to talk about this online, because I think people saw me and Gabby constantly comparing ourselves online, and both of us seemed always insecure for different reasons and felt like we had to put on a front. And I think the more we talk about where all this comes from, people are going to start understanding, oh, the girls like compete, not, it wasn't just YouTube and their channels. Like, they've been pinned against each other growing up, fighting these labels pinned on them. And I think we're really trying to come to this neutral place in the past few years where, like, you have your strengths and weaknesses, as do I, but that doesn't mean we have to compete. That doesn't mean we have to be pinned against each other.
Your current branding is being opposite. Your current branding is deadass comparing each other. What in the fuck are you going on about? It's like when a Kardashian complains about a beauty standard. Like, if you didn't set that and perpetuate that yourself, nobody would be comparing you to that. You did that to yourself. But I'm done listening to this fucking podcast. I'm gonna throw up some of the drama because apparently Nikki and Gabby are fighting. Don't really know what that's about. Don't really give a shit. I hated listening to that. That was draining as all hell. But if you liked the video, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun shit. I'm gonna try to make these a regular thing, but my YouTube crashes half the time I try to upload, so I'm gonna try. Sorry this is so long. Smooches.